Grisabella, Rumpleteazer, and Mungojerrie are just three of the characters in the musical hit Cats. The all-Canadian production in Toronto closes next week after a highly successful two-year run. The show has garnered 7 local theatre awards and delighted more than 1 million theatre goers across the country. Now the cast begins its first tour. Joining us now in the studio is Cats producer Marlene Smith with Lorena, now let me say it right, Cingolani.
That's it.
I've got that right, who plays Rumpleteazer, and Brad Cormier, who plays Mungojerrie. Welcome to you all.
Hi.
This is an incredible look, first thing in the morning here.
It is for us too.
You were on the stage last night, weren't you?
Yeah.
How long did it take you to put this all back together this morning for us?
Half an hour to 40 minutes.
About that between there, from when we sit down and start our makeup until we have the whole costume on.
Until we get the wig and everything on.
It's incredible.
Yeah, about 40 minutes.
Marlene, what prompted you to try and put this whole operation together? It is an incredible operation.
I guess we'd done small shows for a very long time, and we decided that the theater was sitting empty, that it could be put to use. To do Cats, we had to have that kind of theater. And I don't know, everybody just kind of pitched in and said, let's do it. And the spirit behind the whole thing was phenomenal. I mean, the cast, the crew, the people who did the costumes, the set, the props, everybody was just determined to make it terrific.
This had been such a smash hit in London and in New York. Were you concerned that it might have been a risk in the Canadian market?
A little bit. You know, showbiz is a gamble at the best of times. So, but their track record was really very good. Doing commercial theater in Canada is difficult because nobody has theaters to let you sit for a long time, and of course it had to because it was a $3 million production, so we had to sit somewhere for a long time. Sure, it was a gamble, but you know, that's what life.
Were you two just fascinated by the whole concept? Had you seen it somewhere else and wanted to do it very badly?
I'd never seen the show.
No?
I saw it in New York.
Just heard of it, and like everybody else, heard of the song Memory, and that was all I knew about it. Believe it or not, I'd never seen it.
So you weren't a fan of T.S. Eliot, you hadn't studied the poems, and this hadn't...
No, I hadn't.
No. I saw the show in New York about a year before we brought it into Toronto, or Marlene brought it into... I didn't. And then, yeah, and I remember thinking that someday when I grew up, and you know, was a well-groomed professional performer, I could do a show like that too. And here
But when
I
we're
am.
down in the tunnel, he's always like, I remember how badly I wanted to do this. And it's like,
And
the
why
second
have
show
I
of the
done
day.
The
he's
second
like,
show of the day.
yes,
I
love it. I love it.
Now it's...
I'm a cat.
It's more than 800 performances now.
Yes, by the time they finish, they will have done 844 performances.
That's in Toronto, and this is before you head out to points east and west.
That's right. By the time we finish in Montreal, they will have done, if all goes according to plan, about 1,000 performances, which is quite remarkable.
How can you keep up the stamina and the interest in a role for 1,000 performances?
That's a tough question. You just keep finding new things and to do and to keep it fresh for yourself, or else you would go crazy.
It's also...
things keep developing. Even now there are still things, and it's almost 2 years that I discover on stage that I never
And you can
thought
improvise,
of before,
you
and
can
it's like,
change.
oh yeah, hey, this is great.
It's also, see, these two have also done other roles, which
In the
helps a little
performance.
bit.
Yes.
She actually does sing Memory, Lorena does. She's the Grisabella understudy. And Brad's changed roles 2 or 3 times, so that helped. There are actually a couple of people who have started out one role are still doing that same role, and that's tough too.
We are told that it is very physically demanding, that there's been a fair amount of injury on the job, that sort of thing.
Depending on the role too.
Leaping about.
Yeah, there are some roles that are just singing roles mostly, and but Brad and I do a lot in the show.
I'm going to tell you the story because Brad actually wasn't doing the role at the time, but when we first started out, Lorena was in this role, and the first rehearsal that we had invited people to for the press and investors, and you know, trying to please the investors.
Oh, please, money, yes.
It was the worst snowstorm of the year, but that was fine. These two, at least the two that were doing Mungojerrie and Rumpleteazer at the time, and I'll never forget sitting there watching and thinking, well, that's it. They're never going to be able to do this anymore because they do cartwheels and handsprings and
while they're singing.
And they sing at the same time. It was absolutely amazing.
They missed us too.
There are
We got through it.
122 costume changes in one of these productions. You're now going to try and go across the country. Can you do it? Can you mount this kind of operation, change cities, new stages, all that sort of thing, Marlene? Is it possible?
Well, I hope so, because we've booked the theaters. We're going to Calgary and then to Vancouver for the summer at the Queen Elizabeth. We're at the Jubilee in Calgary. Then we go to the Saint-Denis in Montreal. It's more difficult than normal. The bus and truck of Cats that's out in the U.S. takes what's called a 12-hour setup. We, unfortunately, are going to take 3 days to set up because we're taking our set with us.
Well, all the best, and I hope everyone across Canada takes it in. It's a wonderful performance.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Marlene Smith, the producer of Cats, Lorena, I'm going to say it again, Cingolani.
Lorena Cingolani.
Lorena, okay, Rumpleteazer, and Brad Cormier, Cats. They'll be touring Canada later this year. We'll be right back.